So, when you're writing, and this is particularly the case with literary writing, both fiction and nonfiction, your reader has an expectation that you're going to go above and beyond the common or the things that they've heard before. So, you want to avoid cliches. I mean, there is a place for cliches, I suppose, in dialogue. But apart from that, cliches are boring. I mean, by definition, they're boring because we've heard them so many times that they're extremely familiar to us. So avoid cliches, find new ways to surprise, to astonish your reader. Think of how you can make your writing fresh, something new. And I hope you've already seen this in some of the pieces that we've covered. Certainly in Laurie Mysick's piece, she expresses her thoughts and her feelings in new ways. One of the things that I've often told writers is it is our job as the writer to express and to describe the indescribable. So over the years, I've had the odd writer say, it was just indescribable because it was something, that felt so big that it felt like it was indescribable. But it is your job to describe that. So one of the ways that we can describe things is by using sounds and using sounds in our language. And some writers are really good at doing this. This pocketa, pocketa, pocketa is something that I've read in a couple of pieces now. David Small's Stitches uses that. And I heard it for the very first time. My grandfather would quote it. It was from a James Thurber piece. And the name of the piece eludes me at this moment. But he used it to mean, let's just carry on now, pocketa, 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 because it's referred to that way in the James Thurber piece. Crick, kick, 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 kick. The sound of the West Coast tree frog. And of course, I'm not saying it right. It actually looks better on paper, to be honest. Here's a quote from Once More to the Lake. It's my favorite line from this piece. Chucking the rowboat under the chin. Can't you just hear the sound of the lapping waves against the rowboat when you hear that? I love that. It's a metaphor, but it's a way of expressing a sound. I can hear the flick, flick, flick of my fingers as I tear at the pages. The chickadee sings its winter song, a song of longing. Phoebe, Phoebe, as though in grieving. And how she has written those words perfectly describes the sound of a chickadee. This is from a memoir that we haven't discussed in class. It's actually a graphic novel memoir. So you might want to look it up. I mean, it's a kind of a weird graphic novel. It's a memoir by the author, David Small, and he had quite an odd childhood, not always a good childhood, but he certainly describes it well through the use of both images as well as words. After dinner came the sounds of mother in the kitchen, taking care of the dishes, whap, clang, crash, of my brother slamming away at his drums in the basement. Bing da da, bing ba da, bam, bum, 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 and the squeal of Dad's tires as he sped out down Pinehurst Avenue. Scree! And this is from Tom Wolfe's A Man in Full. You can just look at it. I'm not going to try to pronounce those words. And this is from Jenna Butler's first memoir, A Profession of Hope. Blink! Something bops off the magazine and falls to the ground. Blink! Behind me, something else collides with the cabin wall. Suddenly, I'm aware of a constant, gentle sound all around me, and I realize that it's honeybees, winter dizzy and in their first flight of the season, crashing into everything and sundry. And this is from a memoir called Of This Earth. Now, this is a memoir that I might reference a few more times throughout this course because it is something that's really informed my writing, both through this author's approach to language as well as the way he weaves his narratives and also the way he uses artifacts. I think that Of This Earth is one of the most brilliant books I've read. And so I like to share pieces of it with my students. And certainly if you're interested in this genre, I highly recommend that you read this book. There is so much to unpack here. But in this particular passage, I quoted it because he uses sounds. God was forever high in his bright heaven, and only the towering clouds or occasional hawks, or the great black ravens rowing themselves, whiff, 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 through the air, shifted light shadows passed over me, soft as breathing. And I love this description because when he says the rowing, if you've seen ravens fly overhead, it does look like their wings are rowing. And it isn't something I would have thought of myself, but Weeb thinks of it. And then the sound that their wings make, whiff, 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 whiff. So as you're writing, think of how you can incorporate sound into your writing.